Hey, it's Bodie. Welcome to my new bedroom. And as promised, here is my name change video. So I changed my name to Bodie recently. I actually got the official documentation in the mail last Friday. So legally, officially, my name is Bodie. I am 28 years old now. I started questioning my gender when I was about 19, and I started identifying publicly as gender questioning when I was 21. And I decided to pick a more masculine name because I wanted to try out like a traditionally male name and see how that felt for me. So when I was 21, I picked the name Zach. And I actually went by the name Zach for 2 whole years. And it's funny, I told my friend this recently, and they looked at me and they said, "You're not a Zach. This is why we don't let children pick their names." And I laughed because, they meant it in jest, but obviously I was an adult, but I was definitely a baby trans. And I have no reason why I picked the name Zach. I was like, I want to try out a masculine name or like traditionally male name. Zach is cool. Like that was it. That was my only justification. And I really am not a Zach. People called me Zach, and I introduced myself as Zach for 2 whole years. And I never really clicked with it. I never really felt like Zach was my name. I never really felt like a Zach. As I was also realizing I was non-binary and meeting a lot of other non-binary people, I realized that I didn't have to change my name. And so I changed it back to my birth name. This was never legal or official. Zach was just, what I was using. And then I just went by my birth name. And I don't hate my birth name. I don't have like an especially negative reaction to it. So I went by my birth name for the next 5 years or something. And that was just me. And then last year I was starting to realize that even though I was fine with my birth name, it didn't bring me joy and I didn't click with it in a way that felt real. Like it just felt like a sound that people made to refer to me. Obviously that's all names are that, right? That is what names are. But I was kind of meh about it. I don't even know what started my kind of rethinking about the name situation, because I basically figured like Zach didn't fit, and I'm non-binary, so like I don't need a traditionally male name, right? Like even if I was a binary trans guy, I wouldn't have to. There's a trans woman who works on the TV show Transparent, and her name is Zachary Drucker. Not related to my Zach at all. And her name is Zachary, and she transitioned, and she's like, I like my name, I'm gonna keep it. There's a trans activist, Eli Ehrlich, who kept her name as well. She's just like, my name is Eli, deal with it. So like even binary trans people, I don't know if they identify as binary, but from what I've understood, they do for the most part. So like even if I was binary, it wouldn't necessarily mean that I had to like pick a male name either. And then sometime last year I started feeling like, maybe I'm kind of meh about my name. I think also this conversation about gender euphoria was really helpful as well. I was like, I don't feel dysphoric about having a traditionally female name, but I wonder if I could possibly like feel better with one that wasn't, I feel like a Bodie. Like the moment I found that name and people started calling me that, it just clicked. Like it took me a few months to start even responding to the name Zach, whereas Bodie, like from day one, I was like, oh yes, me, huh, yeah. Like I just responded to it from the get-go. And some of that might have to do with I went from my birth name being a 2-syllable name beginning with B, to my now name, which is a 2-syllable name beginning with B. So it could have been that just like audibly they are similar, like more similar than Zach. But I truly do think that it's because I connect with Bodie. Just like I am a Bodie, like I just am. It just felt so right. Bodie's not a super common name, but neither was my birth name as well. I think that kind of helped as well. You know, I was looking at maybe like Brody or Bradley or Brett, none of which I was vibing with. And I think also, like, I'm not saying I picked Bodie because I wanted to be like really cool and unique, but my birth name was quite uncommon, and so I'm used to having an uncommon name, so picking Bodie it felt right as well, right? And there is an Olympic skier called Bodie Miller in the US, and so it's not like a completely out there name that no one has either. I've actually introduced myself as Bodie to some people, and they've said, oh, like Bodie Miller. I'm like, yes, yeah, absolutely. And I was watching quite a few of Bodie Miller's ski runs because I wanted to kind of feel what it felt like to just hear people saying that name a lot, and it just felt like a name that really suited me. So how did I pick it? I am a Danish citizen, and Denmark has some very strict name laws. It's pretty shitty actually at the moment to be a transgender person in Denmark. So they have legal names. They have a list of like 17,000 legal official names on the government website. And first off, if you're going to either change your name to a name that's not on that list or name your child a name that's not on that list, you have to apply to your local parish. I think it's like literally the church that you have to apply like to get your name added to that list. So like that's pretty strange and kind of messed up. And then also the list is divided into male names, female names, and unisex names. And if you have a child who is assigned male at birth, you aren't legally allowed to pick a name from the female list if it's not in the unisex list, unless again you like apply to your local parish. Also, if you're transgender and you want to change your name from one that is strictly on the male list to strictly on the female list, or vice versa, you have to change your gender marker and then also your social security number, which can really mess up things with your bank, with your student loans, or no, the opposite of a loan. In Denmark, the government gives you money to study. In Mother Denmark, they pay you to learn. That's a Russian accent. I don't know why I did that. As a person who still has female on most of my documents except my California's driver's license, which I have an X, which is non-binary, I would either have to choose a name from the female list or the unisex list, or if I wanted one that was only on the male list, I'd have to fill out a whole bunch more paperwork and send it in. I'm not entirely sure if I'm overseas, because in America they're a lot looser about name changes, just like it can't be obscene, and there's like a few, you can't be, in New Zealand, your first name can't be like Lord or King or Prince or Sir because they're considered titles. So I'm not sure if I changed my name in a country where it was legal and then applied to Denmark, if there could be some kind of loophole for that. But if I was to apply in Denmark directly, they have a lot of restrictions. So I figured like a good place for me to start would be to look at the unisex names list on the Danish government website and just see if there was anything there that kind of jumped out at me, because if there was, that would be like, that would streamline the whole process, right? And I decided this time around because Zach really didn't fit and really just didn't feel like me, and I wanted to get it right this time, I decided I did still want a B name. I was pretty set on still wanting a 2-syllable name. As you can imagine, the unisex list is very short, and the B name section is extra short. And then of those names, I was looking at ones that either began with B or had a B in them, like that were 2 syllables. It was tiny. So I think my final list was like Bodie, Toby, and I think Bo was the last one, basically. And like, I love the name Toby. Like, I could totally be a Toby as well, Tobias. Toby, which I was considering for a while. I like Bo, but Bo feels like a nickname, and so, I mean, I'm Bodie. No one calls me Bo, but they could, and that would be fine as well, right? So I was kind of just sitting with this name Bodie and Toby for a while, and I decided to I was playing a D&D game at the time, so I named I was playing a halfling druid, and I named them Bodie. So the name Bodie, like verbally, there's a Scandinavian spelling, so Denmark, Sweden, Norway, Finland, I think, which is Bode, but in English it's pronounced Bodie. And then there's the American spelling, Bodie, and then the Sanskrit spelling, Bodhi. And the Sanskrit spelling is obviously pronounced different when you're not speaking English. Also, I love the name Bodhi for myself, and I am totally a Bodhi. The pronunciation in Danish isn't that great. It's like, I think it's Bol. Oh, Bodhi, yeah, it's also a German name as well. Bode as well. I think it means messenger or something. So I played as this halfling druid hanging around being a giant spider and a velociraptor in wild shape, as you do when you're a druiding around. And just we didn't end up finishing the campaign, but we went for about a couple of months or something, and just like going once every week or two, I think it was every week, yeah, going like every week to a space where people were referring to me as Bodhi, even though I was playing a character. I just fell in love with the name. I was like, that's me. Like, this is me, this is my name. Obviously the character wasn't me. I like to think that the characters was like a little bit more rash and like hot-headed than I was, but people told me that I was basically playing myself, which some people do in D&D, which is fine. Yeah, so like I started looking forward to going to this D&D session every week just to hear myself be called Bodhi, and I realized that like really it was just me. I'd found my name. And so I got pretty lucky that like when I looked on the Danish name website, under the unisex B names, there was one that I really jived with, because the list is incredibly short. Because Bode, when you read it in English, a lot of people say bode, because there's like, oh, it doesn't bode well, that's the word, right? So I was thinking, like, should I spell it the American way? Will that kind of mess up my Danish passport situation? What about the Sanskrit name, Bodhi, which looks really cool, and I feel is more intuitive, Bodhi, to like say Bodhi than Bode. Shout out to my date friend who talked me into not using the Sanskrit spelling. We had an awesome conversation about cultural appropriation, and Bodhi, Bodhi, is an Asian name, and I am not Asian, and that's a perfectly good spelling in Scandinavian. And so yeah, like hella shout out to my date friend. They're a super solid person, and I really trust their judgment a lot, so like, cheers. Thank you for helping name me appropriately. Like, it was just the spelling, right? Like, I had the name down, but, like, yeah, good job. I really respect, like, friends and lovers who, like, call people on their shit and, like, call people in and have those kind of discussions. I think that's really rad. I'm really glad that I didn't stick with the name Zach, and that I had the intuition and self-awareness enough to realize that that wasn't me, and realize that that didn't fit me. Like that sound Zach didn't fit as a label to me. And I also like appreciate myself for being able to just say, okay, like this isn't a priority right now. We're gonna put it on the back burner. We're going to do other things with our life. I don't know why I'm using the royal we. I'm gonna do other things with my life and come back to it. And then I think coming back and like finding a name that I really truly connected with at age 27 worked for me. Like worked really well for me, because I like got to be at that point where I kind of understood like who I am. I'm beginning to understand a lot of things about me that I maybe wasn't quite aware of before. Just a lot of little things and about the way that I move through the world, and I think when I chose the name Zach, I was trying to label an idea of myself that I wanted to be. I was like, yeah, I'll be a Zach. I'll be like really cool and like have a lot of swag and be really sexy. It's funny, I live with a Zach now and like he doesn't like vibe that like bro-y thing. He's like really sweet. And so I don't know why I had this idea of like that's what a Zach was, but I had this kind of goal and I was like, yeah, like I'm gonna be like really sporty, and I'm still kind of sporty, but I think finding Bodie for me, like I didn't know that when I found my name, like I really found my name, that I would know. But when I found Bodie, like I knew, like it sat right. And I know some trans people will pick a name and they're like, oh, I'm not sure. And then they start using it and then they're like, okay, yeah, this feels good. But my, like Bodie, like really felt good from the start. I looked at the little graph, and the name Bodie in the States became kind of more popular when Bodie Miller like won his gold. So there's gonna be a lot of 9-year-olds with my name, but whatever, it's chill. That's another thing. I know a lot of trans people look at their birth year and look at the names that were popular then. But again, like I said, my birth name was pretty unpopular. I found my name. Guys, I found my name. It feels really fucking good. So, yeah, that's what I did. I went to the Danish legal name website because I'm a Danish citizen, and I knew that if I happened upon a name there in the female or unisex list, I did want one that was more masculine, so I was mostly focusing on the unisex list. I knew if I picked one from there that I really jived with, it would save me a bunch of paperwork on the European side of the earth, the world. Yeah, so I found my name, and that has honestly felt like it's opened a lot of doors for me that I didn't realize were closed. Yeah, I didn't realize were closed. Like, exploring yourself when you don't have a label that feels right for the concept of yourself, like self, I, me, I found was actually, I don't think I understood it quite at the time, but it was kind of hindering my, like, being in myself right when I wasn't really vibing with that name. Like now, like I said, when people say Bodie, I respond immediately. I've stopped responding to my birth name, which is weird. I remember one time my name had been Zach for like a year, and someone called out, Zach, Britta. And I turned around and they're like, I was trying to get your attention. It wasn't working. Whereas that just hasn't happened with Bodie, right? Like someone says Bodie, I'm there. Like I'm present. It's me. The first few weeks that I had the name Bodie and I was getting used to it and really excited, I'd come into the kitchen every morning and I was like, Bodie, Bodie, Bodie. And my housemates thought I was kind of weird, but that's fine. Yeah. So I found my name. Oh, I was like, what is that? What is that jam? My new neighbor plays the drums. He's really good and he doesn't play late at night, so it's cool. Yeah, anyway, so that's the story about how I found my name. I also did change my last name, as some of you know. That is not something I really want to talk about. Here, so none of your business. Yeah, but my first name, looked at that. I think also, like I said, I was looking at the Sanskrit spelling, and I was like, oh, that's so cool. And there's a character called Bodhi, Bodhi, who's like a surfer dude in a movie or whatever. And I was like, yeah, I could vibe with that. I don't surf. But I think also just like having been given a Scandinavian name at birth and then picking another Scandinavian name, that kind of just carry on just made the transition feel even more seamless. So I was personally someone who was like, okay, Scandinavian name, B name, 2 syllables, like really wanted to carry that on. And I think that just kind of made that transition like more seamless. I also know some trans people who are like, hell no, I want something really different. Or especially like trans people of like dual heritage who might, for family reasons, feel more connected to the heritage of like one parent than the other, but the other is like where their birth name had come from. I know some people who do that as well, in like a way of kind of honoring that part of themselves too, so that's cool. Yeah, anyway, I'm gonna let you go. I was just really excited to share with you. I've been so busy. I moved into this room like a month ago and I finally just started unpacking my boxes. Also, like, the size of this bedroom, oh boy. Oh boy, this is the largest bedroom I have ever lived in. I have feelings about it. Good feelings, good feelings. Oh, yeah. I've been sick this week, so I've got this kind of croak, but also relevant to me talking about like continuing my transition, even though I made a video last year saying that I was finished with my transition, my non-binary transition, I was post-transition. Aha! That was funny. I have been on a exactly a half dose of testosterone for about a month now. This time round, I'm really driving with it. It feels great. It feels like actually perfect for my body. And I'm gonna stay on it. So exactly 1/2 dose. I don't know what that is in like injection terms because I'm on the pump. And I like that consistency like every single morning because I don't get those spikes. I have friends who are on an injection every 3 months and I don't think I could deal with that fluctuation, right? This is like very even, very good. And it's actually being on the half dose. I mean, it's only been a month, but I haven't felt any PMS symptoms this month, so I think this is kind of the level that overrides my estrogen kind of fluctuations. Anyway, I am on a half dose of testosterone. I'm gonna stay on it indefinitely. This is my plan. I am not going to be making any tea updates because I don't want to. I'm just not going to. I felt very comfortable and happy talking about my surgery on YouTube, and I don't want to talk about tea anymore. It's like, it's my own thing. I'm doing me. But I wanted to share that here and now because I know that people comment and they're like, oh, hey, your voice is kind of low, blah, blah, blah. Are you transitioning or whatever? I mean, yes. But yeah, so that's it. Gonna be making more videos and have a good life.